Let me start that one, yeah. Like how Martin Luther King would have started. My dream, my dream, my dream, my dream, my dream. Tell you my dream is to live my dream. Hear the most I in me sleep when me sleep. Tell you my goal.
Hi Mosrick. How are you today?
I am great. Nice to see you. What can I do for you today?
Can I have a large coffee, please?
Coming right up.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Powell. How are you? Hello, Mary. I am doing well, thanks be to God.
Very well. This is my mom, Mrs. Loretta Strongman.
Pleased to meet you, Mrs. Strongman. Same here, Ms. Powell. Mary speaks highly of you. She enjoys your classes. She is a vibrant and hardworking student, Ms. Loretta. She only gets distracted with her friends occasionally.
That's true, Mrs. Powell. However, I am trying my best to work on it.
You better. Your exams are coming up very soon and failure is not an option. Don't worry, Mrs. Loretta. I will ensure she has all her ammunition to prepare for her exams. Thank you, teacher. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Mrs. Powell, I have a favor to ask.
What is that now, Mary?
Can I see you in your office after school on Tuesday?
Okay, sure. I have a class until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so you can see me afterwards.
Okay, Mrs. Powell. Thank you very much.
Hey Marmar, what's going on? It's been a while, I haven't seen you around campus.
Well, I am doing good. I mostly have night classes, so I am hardly on campus during the daytime.
Oh, I understand. How is cost and management accounting treating you?
It is not so good. I cannot manage anymore. It is so stressful.
I agree it can be stressful, but you know, there is one thing my teacher Ms. Daly always instill in us, that we should always remember the concepts that we are dealing with.
Okay, Scott. I guess I will have to just practice and learn the underlined concepts so I can ace my exams.
Okay, nice. All the best and see you around.
Thanks for the advice. I have a meeting with Miss Powell as we speak, so I will see you later. Thank you for agreeing to see me on such short notice.
Yes, Mary. What can I do for you?
Well, Mrs. Powell, I saw where you sent us an email with the topics for our upcoming sessional examination. However, I am not understanding a particular topic that will be on the exam.
Which of the topic is that?
Activity-based costing.
Do you remember what happened in the class, Mary?
Yes, Mrs. Powell, there was a lot of noise and the practice teacher was not too confident while she was teaching and I was lost.
Okay, Mary. It is important for you to pay attention in class to all teachers so that this problem do not reoccur.
That is true, Miss. Thanks for the advice.
Okay, my dear. Give me a few minutes, I will be with you shortly. So, Mary, what can you recall from the class when we did ABC costing?
Miss, I can recall that activity-based costing is a system that identifies the activities that drive the cost of a product or a service.
Excellent. Can you identify some activities that take place when I decide to make coconut drops?
Well, I would say cutting, boiling, and setting of the drops.
Okay, Mary. Very good. These are some activities. But there are some other activities that are involved in the process, such as transportation and packaging, just to name a few. Understood?
Yes, Miss. So, Miss, how does activity-based costing improve the costing process?
Activity-based costing enhances the costing process in 3 ways. First, it expands the number of cost pools that can be used to assemble overhead costs. Instead of accumulating all costs in one company-wide pools, it pools costs by activity. It also creates new bases for assigning overhead costs to items such that costs are allocated on the basis of the activities such as machine hours or direct labor cost. ABC costing systems alters the nature of several direct costs previously considered indirect, such as inspection, depreciation, or power, or traced to certain activities.
Wonderful. Now I get it.
Now, Mary, do you remember the steps involved in activity-based costing?
No, I do not remember the steps. I would really appreciate if you could go over them.
No problem. Okay, let me remind you, whenever we are doing activity-based costing, the first thing we need to do is to identify the activity. So, step 1 would be activity identification. This is where the activities are grouped together in activity pools. Activity pools are the costs which are incurred when certain operations are performed within an organization. For example, purchasing and receiving would be an activity cost pools. Based on your previous response, how would you identify purchasing and receiving as an activity cost pool?
Well, in making coconut drops you need to purchase sugar, coconut and ginger. Those activities would be done by the purchasing departments. Both purchasing and receiving would be an activity cost pool.
Fair enough. The second step is the activity analysis. This step clearly identifies the processes which support the product and avoid some of the systemic inaccuracies of traditional costing. This activity analysis identifies indirect cost relationships and allows assignment of some percentage of that activity to an end product directly.
So first I would have to identify the activity, then analyze the activity.
Very good, Mary. After you have identified these two steps, you would then have to assign the cost to an activity pool.
How would you assign these costs?
Well, in assigning cost to activity cost pool, you must identify the activity cost pools, the cost drivers, the expected use of cost drivers per activity, and the activity-based overhead rate. For example, Mary Jack Company of one activity pool in one product, namely Scissors Jack. This activity pool is ordering. The cost driver for ordering and receiving his purchase orders with an estimated overhead of $200,000. The expected use of cost driver per activity is $2,500. The expected use of the cost driver per product for Scissors Jack is $1,000. You would have to first write the activity pools in a column which is 1. Ordering and receiving 2. Machine setup. You have to then write the expected use of cost driver per product, which the 1,000 in a second column. Thirdly, you would have to calculate the activity-based overhead. To be able to calculate this rate, you would have to divide the estimated overhead, which is 200,000, by the expected use of cost driver per activity, which is 2,500. What would be the activity-based overhead?
Is it $80?
Very good. Mary, could you calculate the cost assigned based on what was discussed earlier?
Okay. In column 1, I would place the activity cost pool, which is ordering and receiving. Then in the second column, it would be the expected use of cost driver per product, which is 10. Thirdly, the activity-based overhead rate would be 2, then the cost assigned would be $80,000.
Very good. You have grasped these steps. Now the next step is to assign cost to cost objects, and then finally prepare and distribute management reports. Once activity-based costing analysis is complete, the cost data should be placed in a concise and coherent manner for cost objects and process owners. This communication of the costing analysis is critical to justify the cost analysis, as often this is not an insignificant cost.
Well, that was not so bad after all.
Definitely, that is why it is imperative that you always pay attention in class. Now, Mary,
there are a lot of advantages associated with activity-based costing.
Are
The
some
first
advantages
one
of
is that activity-based
costing.
costing can provide a much better
The second
insight
one
into what drives
is that it
overhead
can be
cost.
applied
to all overhead cost and not just production overhead. The third advantage is that activity-based costing can be applied to drive realistic cost in a complex business environment. It can also be easily used in service costing as in production costing.
Good job, Mary. You have said it all.
So, Miss, would you like to hear the disadvantages of activity-based costing? Because everything has its good and bad, and though activity-based costing has its advantages, I have learned of the disadvantages that are associated with activity-based costing.
Okay, Mary, don't you right ahead and tell me what you have learned about the disadvantages of activity-based costing.
All right, Miss. I have learned that activity-based costing is very expensive to implement. Another disadvantage is that the benefits obtained from activity-based costing might not justify the cost. If the cost of implementing the system outweighs the benefits, it makes no sense. Also, it is impossible to allocate all overhead costs to specific activities.
Awesome. Let us see if you were really paying attention. True or false? A cost driver is any activity that interferes with cost and causes it to increase or decrease.
True.
Very good. So Mary, are you aware of the levels of activity-based costing?
Well, I can recall the batch level. In this level, the activities are performed for each batch of products rather than per unit.
Very good. What would be the activity driver for, say, equipment setup?
The cost driver for equipment setup would be number of setup.
Very good, Mary. Another level is where the activities are performed for each unit of production. What level do you think this is?
Is it the product level?
No. Mary, try again. Look at the clue and figure it out.
Is it the unit level?
Very good. Well done.
Okay, miss, I understand.
Wonderful. The final level is the facility level. All activities in this level are required to support or sustain an entire production process.
So, for example, plant management, the cost driver would be the number of employees managed.
Very good, Mary. I believe you are all ready for your exam. Be confident and practice, my dear, or you will do well.
Thank you very much, Miss Powell, for your time and effort.
You are most welcome.
Activity-Based Costing by James Boyer. This is Jim. Jim owns a cafe. Jim sells coffee at his cafe. There are various overhead costs that Jim must pay in order to sell his coffee. These include electricity costs for the coffee machine, the cost to transport coffee beans to his cafe, taste testing costs, and the cost of training his expert baristas. These can traditionally be split into cost levels. Unit level costs are costs incurred each time a unit is produced, such as the cost of electricity for the coffee machine. The cost to transport coffee beans is a batch level cost. These costs are incurred each time a batch of goods is produced. Jim's taste testing costs are product level costs. These are incurred to support the production of each type of product. When Jim pays to train his expert baristas, he is paying facility level costs. These are incurred to sustain the overall manufacturing process. Now, if Jim wants to figure out the amount of overhead costs incurred for each cup of coffee he sells, Jim could simply divide the total overhead costs by the total number of coffees he sold. This seems simple while Jim only sells coffee, but Jim also sells cola, burgers and fries. How could Jim accurately calculate the amount of overhead costs for each item he sells now, as some items incur greater overhead costs than the others? This is where activity-based costing comes in. Here, overhead costs are split into different activities. For example, at Jim's cafe, Jim's overhead cost activities include machine repair and maintenance, equipment setup, product development, and depreciation costs. These can still be split into our unit, batch, product and facility level costs. However, at this stage it is more helpful for us to figure out our various cost drivers, that is, factors that change or drive the incurrence of costs. Benefits of activity-based costing for Jim include more accurate cost information, giving Jim opportunities to improve costing for certain business areas, create accurate costing goals, and make better product decisions. It also provides quality cross-driver information used to analyse the cause of a company's overhead costs. Businesses with a diverse range of products, many non-unit level costs, and high proportions of overhead costs compared to direct materials and labour benefit most from activity-based accounting. Jim is very happy to finally have an effective overhead costing mechanism for his cafe. Bye Jim, and good luck with your cafe. Thanks for watching.
My dream, my dream, my dream, my dream. Tell you my dream is to live my dream. Heal the most I in me sleep when me sleep. Tell you my goal, my goal, my goal. All of my goal is to reach my goal. Live a happy life, put it on me headstone. Nobody no fi cry over me dead. Look at me now.